All right, today I am here with Chris. Chris is one of our DSA students, actually came into the program as a referral. He has some entrepreneurial experience. He's working a W-2 job as well currently. Um, has owned multiple different types of businesses, definitely a serial investor. I don't want to try to sum up your experiences haphazardly, so I'm going to just turn the floor over to you, Chris, and just let you um, give an introduction for yourself and just let people know what do you do and what is your background, and then we'll kind of dive more into the cleaning business and what you've done with DSA in a few minutes, but let's just hear a little bit more about you.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, my name is Chris. I'm going to be 49 in a couple of months, so I'm an old man at this point. I have been a serial entrepreneur for a long time, going back, and I'll show my age at this point, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, doing Amway. And most of you guys won't even know what that is at this point. I have fast forward throughout my career of being in management, leadership, whether it be retail or some other things. I always looked for something else because I don't want to retire from a place. Because I don't want to be at a place 30 more years type of thing. So, and nobody wants to pay you what you're worth. So I'm always using that side hustle thing. I have a side hustle channel on TikTok, and on Twitter and whatnot, and I teach people how to do some side hustles. But I digress. So over time, I've done different things. The things that have been mostly successful are I do have a rental property that is straight income. It's paid off. And how did I pay that off? Well, about 6 years ago, I took $500 from a very small life insurance policy that my mother left me when she died, and I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, do I buy something for the kids? I don't know. So let me start a business instead and let me be able to leave them something. I think the gift that keeps on giving is something that I wanted to do. So I started in e-commerce, eBay, then transitioned to Amazon and some other things. With the funds that I made from e-commerce, I was able to pay off that rental property 17 years early. So now it's straight income. I also am always looking for more income because, like they say, millionaires usually have about seven forms of income coming in. So I have an RV that I bought back in 2020 that I rent out when I'm not using it. When it's paid off, that will be income. I And a couple other things I won't go to, but I do some financial stuff on the side, some insurance stuff on the side. So I have multiple streams of income coming in. But and that's one of the reasons why my nephew, who I taught how to sell online, who took it to a whole new level, introduced me to this business. That's why I joined and jumped on board.
Awesome. So I know you also work a W-2 job as well. What is that role? What does your day to day look like?
Sure. As you see, I'm in bright green right now because I have to wear safety colors. I work for an insurance company that's nationwide. No, I don't, not nationwide, the insurance company, but it's nationwide, the insurance company. And I look at totaled vehicles all day. I sit at a dirty, muddy yard in my work vehicle and I look at broken vehicles, determine the value of them, and then let the customer know. So that's a 40-hour a week job. It is an hour commute each way. So I'm basically 50 hours out of my house doing my day job. During that time, I can. That's one of the reasons why this allured me to it because I can do this while I'm working. I can pick up a phone call and answer a phone while I'm working. But my goal is to leave at some point and get 50 hours of my life back to be able to go and do other things and build this business or even another one, maybe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think I really like your success story, particularly because you have done it while having the W-2 job and while, like you said, you're putting 50 hours a week into a full-time job. But that being said, I think it is very much to your advantage or in your favor that you are in a role, like you said, where you work mostly independently.
Mhm.
You're in your car where you can take calls, you can do managerial admin type tasks. If you have gaps in the day, you can do something like this and jump on a Zoom call and make a video while you are, at work. So I think a lot of people always ask me like, "Oh, can you start this with a full-time job?" The answer is yes. Now, the real answer is it depends because if you are if you're a surgeon and you're in the operating room 8 hours a day, you don't have a phone, can't access anything. You're not gonna be able to check in on stuff. You're not doing admin. You're too disconnected from the business to start this without at least plugging in a VA or having someone handling admin tasks right from the jump. But if you are someone where the majority of people are now either working fully remote or hybrid, or they're in a situation where a lot of their time is self-directed, I always tell people you absolutely can do this with a full-time job. So definitely cool that you're doing that. I really value your experience that you have in entrepreneurship, and not only with digital businesses, but with things that are a little bit more tangible, like rental property and RV rental, stuff like that. Those are things that have always enticed me. When I get a little around further along my journey. It's funny hearing you say like, "Oh yeah, starting up my first businesses back in like the late '90s, early 2000s." Like I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't even alive yet. I wasn't even born. So there's definitely just a lot of value that you have, not just in your experience, but also in your perspective of things. And like you have such a good head on your shoulders and so focused on just the task at hand and not bothered by the drama and all of that of owning a business, because it's inevitable. And a lot of
Mhm.
people come into here, and you own any business that you have people involved, there's drama. There's cleaners canceling, getting sick, customers canceling, people not wanting to pay, this problem, that problem. And I mean, I have just watched you just be like even keel through the whole thing. You're like, yep, my cleaner didn't show up today. Guess I'm getting rid of them, or guess I'm this or that. It's just you just take it for what it is and you just roll with it.
Yeah, it's funny. There's two parts to that. First off, I thought coming into this business that getting the business, the customers was going to be the hard part. It's not. They come to you. It's the other side. It's the people. Um, it's the human resources side of it that really is the one that. Now, you're right. I do try to stay uh, on the same level when I do it, but there's some back end stuff that when I'm home alone, I might be like, this is ridiculous. What do you mean you only want to work within a 15-minute radius of your house? Like you're not going to get a lot of money that way if So I'm going to move to another cleaner. You
Yep.
know, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't go and force people to want to work.
Absolutely not. No, I
And
think
it's stressful because I'm the guy that would be like, I'll drive an hour. I drive an hour and out. Give me more business. I will drive to this town to this town. Let me get paid.
yeah, and I'm the same as you, and the thing is you can't force that onto someone. You can't teach that on someone. You can't train that in someone. That's just desire. That's just willingness. I mean, my my best cleaner, um, she doesn't ask questions. She just says, "Okay, this is the rate. I need to get paid this amount. If you put an opportunity in front of me to make that amount of money, I will do it." And that's it. I mean, honestly, the only time she doesn't want to do the drive is when she can actually make more money staying local, because she loses 2 hours driving that she could spend cleaning and be making more money while she's doing that. So, and I don't like to send her far away because, again, I want her every hour possible actually cleaning.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, definitely interesting. So I want to jump more into, you said there you had this expectation that your biggest struggle was going to be getting customers, but in fact, it's not. It's the personnel management, hiring, firing, building those relationships. Um, I had a very similar experience. I came in and was like, the hard thing is going to be finding people who need stuff cleaned. No, there's plenty of people that need stuff cleaned, and if you know where to look, you can find them, or they find you, as you said. But the personnel management for sure has been something that's very new to me. I've never managed people, let's say, underneath me. I've always either been solo, or I've been like in an ownership group where like no one works for each other. We have common goals, we have aligned incentives, that's it. And we all just kind of delegate to each other and then get the work done. So, you started now how long ago? 2 months?
Oh, I've been open a month and a half, 6 weeks right now.
And then when did you actually like join the group? Like
That
first
would have
first
been
start?
mid-March is when I had the conversation with you guys about joining. And then it took a couple of weeks to get everything up and running. And then basically the last day of March, maybe the first day of April, is when I had my first clean.
That is like you have almost the same trajectory as me. I'm just 4 months further along now. You know, even in terms of your revenue numbers and what like the that trajectory as well. I have watched you do almost the same thing that I have done over the last 6 months, which I think, it gets me excited for you. Hopefully it gets you excited for yourself too, looking at me saying, oh, 35K last month, probably going to be doing even more. This month and the months that will follow. But so you started, you said it took, let's call it 2, 3 weeks to get going. Now it's been about 6 weeks that you've been live and active. Um, Mine was a very similar timetable, about 2 weeks to get started. 3 weeks I had my first clean, and then now I'm 6 months down the line after that. To walk us through, what did that first 2, 3 weeks of setup look like for you, and then what did the first month of business? Let's recap April, and then we'll get to first 2 weeks of May, looking out to the next part of May. I want to hear, what type of revenue have we done? What have been the obstacles? What has the day to day of running the business looked like? The time commitment, all of that. Just kind of walk me through your particular experience.
Now, like I said before, I've started other businesses before, and I got to say, my personal this situation with starting the cleaning business was a little stressful. Not because of the business, it was little things like Indeed. I couldn't get Indeed to allow me to go and list my cleaners. So it took me about 5 days to realize, well, screw them. Basically, I'm going to go to ZipRecruiter, and then I got a bunch of cleaners off of that. But those first 5 days were pretty stressful, thinking I just invested this money. It was a decent chunk of change to get going, and so I invested this money. Where's that payout going to start if I can't even get anybody to hire? But
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit back, think, take 5 minutes, and take a breath and go, okay, what can I do to overcome this obstacle? And that's business ownership. Is you can't just sit there. You have to go and call an audible for my football fans.
Yep.
Um, so once I got that going, I'm like, that's great. I got that. The getting the LLC was easy. The checklist you guys have is amazing. It's perfect because it's every step you build on the next step, on the previous step. And so I was able to get my LSA set up, my Google LSA, my LLC, my business assurance. All that stuff was so easy to do. The hardest part was getting the Indeed. That was really the most stressful part.
Yep.
Once I got that up and running, on my website, I got up and running. That took a few days. Um, Once I got that up and running, I'm like, now what? What do I do? Well, let me turn on LSA and see what happens. And then boom, my phone started ringing, ringing, and ringing, and ringing, and ringing, and ringing, and ringing. um, to the point that I thought I shot myself in the foot. See, now my nephew, who showed me the way, he started with one county in my area. I said, you know what, I'm going big. I started with 7 counties. I hired people from 7 different counties, which almost was a problem because I didn't have the right people in place. I had to shift some things over. So I don't know if I would recommend that going that big that quick, but it has worked out. Um, so once I got everything running and the computer started, the phone started ringing, had to learn the systems, had fell forward, let's say, or I failed forward on Booking Koala. Was able to figure that out, which is a very easy software to do. Um, After the initial cleans, I started my revenue skyrocketed. I was shocked. My first month in business, I did about 10K. And right now in March, I'm sorry, we're not March, we're in May. Right now in May, on the books, I have 8,900 already. Half of those are already done, half are coming up. So my goal is to hit 15K this month in my second month of business.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I was on a similar trajectory. My first month I did 9,300, something like that. And then my second month I did about 10 again. And then third, 15, 18, 35, so I had some really big jump months, and I think you're going to experience the same thing of once you start getting bookings that you don't have to close on the phone, that's when it starts to get very lucrative.
Mhm.
Um, I almost every day now get a booking from someone I don't know, I don't speak to, I don't have any cost of lead,
Yep.
anything. They just get on my website and they book a clean, and that's
I've
it.
had about 4 or 5 cleans that way, which is great for not for it to actually go and people to find my website after a month and a half. That's great. And
Yeah,
I don't even know how that even happened. It just started coming. So yeah, the one thing I want to mention is with this business is it's a lot of it is liquid. So with my e-commerce business, if I was making $25,000 checks every 2 weeks from Amazon, most of that would go back into product. So 25 grand, 20 of it would go right towards product and it'd be a rolling cycle. Here, I've been able to deposit into my business account 5 grand already, and I have another 3 grand I'm going to deposit today. It's liquid. So that's the one thing that really drew me to this is that I don't have to reinvest. It's just more of maintaining what I have and maybe spending some money on advertising here and there.
absolutely. Yeah, whenever I am, because I move money from my Stripe to my bank account immediately, like all the time. Every 2 days, I'm sending money to my bank account. And I keep it all in my business checking. But um, I would say like it's very easy in the world of internet money to have all these people talking about revenue and not talking about profit. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll really quickly realize that like um there's a lot of people out there who can make 30K a month or whatever, but not do it with any real margins. Chris, I'm going to take this call while we're on here and see if I can get some of the content.
Sure.
Oh,
This call is being recorded. Please hold while I try to connect you. Oh,
hello.
good morning, sir. How are you?
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program here. Block list. Um, so yeah, I think there's a big difference between revenue and profit. And I would say, last month when I had my 35K month, there was a lot of ad spend, as you would expect to have that many jobs closed. But I mean, I still took home 15K in profit. Like,
Right.
like still, I think like 14.5 or 14.6 or something was actual take home, like in my bank account. And that's crazy to a lot of people, but this is a pretty low cost to operate business model. And I always say your biggest expenses are only big if you're doing well, right? You're
Right.
only paying a lot of contractor wages if you're doing well. You're only paying a lot of ad spend if you're doing well, right? As long
Mm-hmm.
as you obviously are trained. If you're untrained, then you may pay a lot of money for ads and close no deals. Similarly, you might be overpaying your contractors and not making enough margin. But if you know what you're doing, um, I paid 15K, 17K in contractor wages this month. And it was just because we made so much money that me paying that out never feels like a risk, right? The job has already been completed. The customer has already paid. It's not I'm stocking some upfront inventory, like you said. There's
Right.
nothing like that. So I definitely agree with that. So now you're in the middle of month two. We're
Mm-hmm.
hoping, looking at, 15K month for your second month here in May. What is, let's say, the top two things that you did not expect from the business that either in a negative way or in a positive way, what are the two things that you would say to someone watching this who's interested in potentially starting a business like this? What are either, it can be a piece of advice, it can be a warning, it can be an experience that you had that you want people to know about, anything. Let's hear your top two, maybe even three things.
Well, I guess the negative would be what I said before is the lack of people who want to work. Um, I was shocked that when I'm offering $25 to $45 an hour, and people like, all right, well, yeah, I'll try it. Or when I have my own thing, I had this one lady who I interviewed. She has her own cleaning business. I was going to 1099 her. And she's like, no, I want $60 an hour. I'm like, well, I don't charge $60 an hour, so you can't have $60 an hour. But we left peacefully. 2 weeks later, she messages me and goes, you know what? I'd like to reconsider. And I said, why? She goes, well, I moved and my business isn't growing as quick, so I don't have the business. I said, well, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is give you business. But I have overhead too. And my overhead is going to be more than yours because I'm the one paying the advertising. I'm the one that's paying for the processing fees of the credit cards. I'm the one that has the website. I have all this stuff. So when we split it 50-50 and you're making $35 an hour, but you didn't have to spend a dime to get it, that's where we're at. So I just onboard her. We'll see how she goes. So that was a negative. That I'm shocked that people don't think $25 to $45 for cleaning is adequate. Certain people. The good things that I've was shocked about, again, is the business, that I was able to get that much business that quick. My calendar, I was doing, after the first week of business, I had 2, 3, even 4 cleans a day on certain days, which I was shocked about. I just thought I'd be dabbling in this the first month. And then again, the stacking of revenue, you don't think about it until you start looking at your Stripe going, I got a couple of grand just sitting there. I just deposited a couple of grand. Where'd this couple of grand come from? I made a TikTok yesterday, actually, of one. It was Mother's Day. I didn't book anybody for Mother's Day. I wanted everybody to be with their families, except for one lady who said, listen, I'll work. It was a recurring clean every 2 weeks, so it fell on Mother's Day. I'm like, I'll change it for you. She goes, no, I'll work. So we both made $150 yesterday. Me gardening with my wife and my kids, her doing a 4-hour job, so she made 30 some dollars an hour, and she was happy with it and I was happy with it. And I didn't have to pay anything for it because we've already cleaned for her twice. So the LSA cost was already gone.
Yep.
So I made $150 clear, give or take, yesterday for going out and having breakfast and gardening.
Yep.
That's what I like about this.
Absolutely. I made a tweet the other day, Saturday, so 2 days ago now. And we it was a tweet about there being no substitute or replacement for the way you can make money while not working when you actually have a business set up under you, right? And I think a lot of people oftentimes confuse being self-employed with owning a business. And I think the biggest difference is, while they're both great, in my opinion, and I have, revenue streams that are both of those different things, is one of them can make you money while you're not working, and one of them requires you to be working to make money. For example, I have a freelance agency. That freelance agency does not make money when I am not designing things and putting them out. Like, we get a deposit up front. They wait until the designs are all done. We send the designs back. They approve them. We get paid. That's it. If I want to go take a month off from doing that, I don't make any money. Even if I take a week off, 2 days off. But similar to you, we picked up and moved all of our stuff over the last 3 days or 4 days. And over those 4 days, while we were moving, I made $5,000 in profit in that week. And I was moving the whole week. I was not working. I still obviously did managerial stuff, and I still answered some phone calls and did some things like that. But the fact that Saturday, for example, I literally spent every moment that I was awake moving, and we made, I actually put in my pocket like $700 in a day that I spent the entire day doing something else. And people will always look at business, especially people who aren't business minded, and they will say, either you're exploiting the people that are doing the labor for you, which, one, obviously not true, because of the fact that if they could do it all by themselves, they would do it all by themselves. And then two, they're going to say, well, yeah, but the
upfront cost and the risk associated with doing it, and this. In my opinion, I think the biggest risk is not trying to create a revenue stream, not trying to create a business, and chaining yourself to one job in an economy that is crushing the purchasing power of your money, is just bleeding jobs everywhere. People are just getting laid off left and right with nowhere else to go to find another job. I mean, that to me almost feels more risky than trying to start a business, trying to do something independently, especially as a young person. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, there's a lot of things to go over with that. The first thing is one of the books I read years ago, and I actually just picked it up again, and I'm reading it again, is the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. It talks about what you just said. The self-employed entrepreneur, business owner, and investor. And I am. When I was with my e-commerce, which I still do on the side, that's a business owner. I'm doing my own thing. I'm basically self-employed. Yeah, so self-employed. The business owner side is now because I'm not doing I have people working for me. I have my money working for me instead of me working for my money.
Yep.
Okay. And now I'm turning into the investor side. I'm taking that money that I'm clearing and I'm putting into investments. When I was in the financial field doing some stuff, and I still have some stuff coming through, that's all residual income. So you write a life insurance policy for the next 30 years, you're getting paid every month, no matter what you do. So this is still kind of the same way without having to hold licenses. I don't have to get another Series 6 or 63. I don't have to get a life or health. And I believe you have some of those licenses from what I remember. Okay. And that's a lot of dry material to go through and a lot of E&O insurance you have to pay for and all this other stuff. You don't need to do that with this. There's very low output when it comes to what you need to do. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this business was I was a healthy person. Last year, I had emergency surgery from a situation. Last year, I was down and out for a full 9.5 months. So my income from my e-commerce plummeted. Like I was doing 10% of my sales because I couldn't physically. I was on the couch whenever I wasn't working. I was in so much pain for almost a year that I couldn't do anything. And speaking to my nephew, I said, I got to get out of this. I can't do this anymore. I need to be able to have people work for me. And that's when he told me about this. And then that's why I started it, because I don't want, if I go down for the count again, I could have a VA do what I do. There's nothing that somebody else can't do. I'm not paying for that now because I'm still growing. But when I get to that level, I'm going to shimmy my way out of this as much as I can and maybe go start another business. And my goal is to do what you want to do, is get my business up to a level that I can then sell and then go do something else.
Yep. And the thing is, if it gets automated nicely enough and you really have very low time commitment to it, maybe you do keep it. Maybe you're like, yeah, I'll just take, 10, 12, 15K a month and take home and just accept that. And that's good enough. I'm not focused on growth, focused on maintenance, focused on keeping the ship running without using a ton of my time. Or like you said, you do look for that large exit and you do look for, I just want to sell and be done and get a lump sum. And then that lump sum allows you to play more of that investor role. I have always felt like there is a hierarchy in money, and this is going to be an oversimplification because, if you're watching this and you're a hedge fund manager, you're probably going to laugh at me when I say this because you're making $500,000 a year at your W-2. But, for everybody else, I have always felt like, you've got W-2, the classic, just like income, you punch a clock for somebody else, you do work for them, you get paid. That is straight exchanging time and expertise for money. That's it. Then you have the self-employed rung, which is you still have to exchange time and expertise, but you set your own pricing, you set your own margins, you are the one kind of overseeing the pot and how big it grows and what happens within it, all of that. Then you have that business owner type of income and money relationship where, other people are working and making you money because of your knowledge and relationships and the infrastructure you've built and the client base you've built. Now you just leverage that to make you money. And then finally,
Mhm.
that tier that everyone aims to get to, which is that investor tier where, you're not really managing anything per se. You just have enough money that when you put it in the right places, it makes enough money for you, and that's all you need.
Right. And
And
the things that people need to know is all the tax laws are made for everything other than a W-2. There's no tax breaks for the W-2. I don't care if you go out and sell candles. You have to have some sort of side hustle to get those tax benefits. Before I even started this, I was writing off so many things. I didn't pay taxes throughout the whole year. And I still got a tax return at the end of the year with my e-commerce business because I have those write-offs. The internet, the cell phones, the heat, the electricity, all that stuff is a write-off that you can't do when you're a W-2.
Mhm. No, there's and not to even mention like a nice pair of headphones, a nice laptop, a new iPhone, mm, a desk at home, all this like I furnished my home office really nicely and like I have two phones, I have my laptop, I have extra monitors, I have my keyboard, my full setup, all this stuff. All of it, every single thing just reduced my tax liability. Like that's it. All that money instead of just paying it to Uncle Sam was paid into a reinvestment into my business. And
Mm-hmm.
my ability to make more money, which is the beautiful thing about it 100%. So yeah,
Right.
no, I agree completely. I think people who are overly reliant on any one income stream, that's a problem. And you rarely see that in business. You more so see that in the W-2. And it's just,
Right.
especially the people that spend beyond what they comfortably can within their role. I grew up um, surrounded by adults who spent every penny that they made. And, they made a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they lived with that hundreds of thousands of year of spending. And, they lived very lavishly. They did whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And the reality there is like, you're losing your job or, you're getting a demotion or you're getting hurt like you just said, anything like that away from your world being a totally different place. If you make 20K a
Yeah.
month and spend 20K a month, when that money is gone, which it could be like this, you are going to be in for a world of hurt because you're not just going to be able to come up with that like out of
Mhm.
nowhere.
One of the things that we used to talk about when I was doing some financial seminar things, there were two things that we talk about. Is most people are four flat tires away from bankruptcy because tires are expensive, and the other thing is your retirement. You need to set up early with the rule of 72. Go look that up, people. You shouldn't spend your golden years in the golden arches working, and that's powerful. Here's the thing. Let's get personal for a moment. My father died at 56 years old. I uh I got him a job. I he was my best friend. He was a guy I looked up to. And I got him a job because I didn't like what he was doing. So I got him a job at Lowe's. He was making double the amount of money he was making at that point. 2 weeks later, he had a stroke and died. So he got one paycheck and was excited about the money he was making because he was 56 and not making a ton of money. And my goal is to retire by 56. I don't want to work to the day I die like he did. So I'm going to be 49 in June. I have 7 years basically to make it big enough that I don't have any debt right now other than a mortgage. I need to pay that mortgage off and then I'm good. I don't live my life with that. I am not four tires away from bankruptcy. I have invested. I have put money aside so I don't live the life he lived.
Yep. And without knowing your personal financial situation, you seem like someone who also understands the value of living below their means. And,
Yes.
someone that understands the value of you can be poor making 10K a month. You can be poor making 20K a month. You can be poor making 50K a month. I mean, I've ran in this internet money space for long enough to see people who are who are four tires away from bankruptcy, making 30K a month. And it
You
is
don't
just
spend, you have to spend below what you're making. You have to, we go on vacations and stuff like that. But what we do is we use the credit card, we use other people's money, and then we pay it off at the end of the month before the interest hits. That's the way to succeed. You use other people's money as long as you can pay it off.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Same thing with business. I mean, leveraging credit, leveraging loans and things like that from the bank, leveraging debt in a smart way, not like consumer debt, like, actual advantageous debt. That could be a whole nother 5-hour discussion for us. So yeah, definitely gonna, I want to have Chris have you back on here and make another video with you where I want to talk more about your experience just as an entrepreneur in general, and what type of tips and tricks you've picked up along the way. Obviously, like I said, you've been doing this longer than I've been alive, so I definitely know I got some things to learn from you. And yeah, I think I don't want this to be super long, so in an effort to wrap us up here in the next 2-3 minutes, Chris, could you provide some insight to someone who might be on the fence about doing this? Not, I don't want you to say, "Oh, DSA is the best. I love these guys. You should definitely do it." I want to hear more of like this is what you should expect. This is where your head should be at when you make this jump. And then, if you are X type of person, you could have success in this. Because I say this stuff all the time, and I want to see if what you say is similar to me. And I also think the viewer will probably be much more likely to hear it from you than they will from me, because, well, I'm the used car salesman here. So go ahead and give me a little bit on that if you don't mind.
So here's my take on that. First off, I need to plug in more too. I don't plug in as much as I should with you guys. There's a lot out there. There's the weekly calls, which I try to get on as much as possible. But there's also the one-on-one coaching, which I don't do, and I should. So, because I think I'll go even further. So when I first heard about this, the first thing I thought was, okay, what's this going to cost me? Because with everything you need to do in life, there's a cost in everything. Nothing is free. Okay.
Yep.
Now, what people get stuck on is cost. You have to invest in yourself. And I'm a firm believer in investing in yourself. I've spent thousands in courses and self-help and other stuff. So there'll always be a cost factor when you start. Sometimes it's substantial, but you have to do your planning. So I was able to pay the cost of this program. It was broken down into 2 months. You guys offered to do it over 2 months, which was great. And my first month in business more than paid for it. So am I in the red right now? I'm a little in the red, but it's only been 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'll be in the black by the end of this month. 2
Yep.
months in business, and I'll be in the black. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
So things that you have to look for is, do you have the stomach to put some money down? Do you have the stomach to be able to get out of your comfort zone and say, you know what, I believe in myself enough that I'm going to be able to do this? You don't have to believe in them. Believe in yourself. But from what I've seen in these classes and seen in the group, just the group chat alone, there's a lot of entrepreneur spirit in there. And one thing I have to work on, because I'm old school, that my nephew doesn't, I have to get better at the online networking with everybody. One day I wouldn't mind being a coach and using you have a lot of younger people teaching right now because you have a different way of doing things. An old dude like me now might have some old school stuff, but that still works. So I think anybody on the fence needs to think about, can they have the stomach to do it? Will they have support in their circle for it? And can they commit at the beginning multiple hours? Like, you can't just join something and think, I'm going to dabble in it. You got to go full blown dive into it. Don't sleep at night. Work your day job and put 3 hours in afterwards if you have to. I had my LSA on until 9 o'clock at night for the first month. That's how I got all that business. I was still working after my day job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to the things I say. And like you said, everything has a cost, right? You either pay with money, you pay with time, you pay with struggle, you pay with hard work. Like you pay regardless. You could go and start this business on your own and you're going to pay in time and you're going to pay in difficulty. And that's not the wrong way to do it. It's just a different currency that you're going to exchange. And I am very similar to you. I am always happy to invest into something when I see the data and the evidence supporting why it's worth that, and when it's allows me to add another skill to my toolbox and be able to multiply my income earning potential. So I think a lot of people, they see this and they're like, oh, it's something you can do as a side hustle. Yes, it is. But if you treat it like you treat probably the other side hustles that you've done, not you, Chris, because you actually have experience, but for the viewer, if you treat this like it's a little side hustle thing, it's not going to make you the money that you want it to make you. And this probably isn't the platform to do it. Go start it on your own and just dabble in it for 6 months and figure it out from there. But if you are like, I actually want to be, making X amount of money, I want to invest my time and my energy into this, and I want to do it with proper guidance, I don't think there's a better place to do it. And I don't think there's a better business model to attempt at this point in time. So that's just my 2 cents. Obviously, Chris, I really appreciate your time today. We're going to have you back here on the YouTube channel again. And I know that there is really no shortage for experiencing this business and experiencing running a team and hiring and firing and sales. And I mean, like, there's no substitute for actually doing it. So I'm very excited to have you back on and let's call it, another 6 weeks. You'll be 3 months in, double the experience in it and double the stories and double the lessons learned. And even then I'll be another 6 weeks along and we'll jump back on and do this again. So Chris, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Guys, I am going to put Chris's social links in the description of the video. As always, hit the like button, leave a comment if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment if you have any other questions for myself or for Chris. We'll both kind of monitor the comment section, get your responses if you have anything. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys in the next video.